Stuff Among Other Things weekly podcast with your hosts Nicholas Miller and Bruce Stewart.
Hey everybody, welcome to Stuff Among Other Things, where we talk about stuff.
And other things.
And today we're going to dive in deep. We are going very, very deep. We've been doing a lot of episodes where it's, us talking about, our favorite this and that, our top 10 lists, why we like this versus why we like that, us bashing on Slayer. That's not what we're doing this week. This week we're more or less, we're diving into the sadness that the world has, the sadness of our lives.
Yeah, it's you have the topical stuff that we've covered, and I think at this point, never hurts to know to let everybody know that we're human and we have feelings and emotions. I've been accused of not having them before, but I swear I do. And this week, unlike every other week where we would sit down and take notes, we're going to try to wing this to give you the most direct, in-depth responses from us. We don't want to rehearse how we feel about feelings. So bear with us. This episode might be a little different, but we're just trying it to see how it goes. We want to talk about feelings. So that's what this week's about. Specifically sadness, which is kind of an odd way. We skipped right over happiness, I guess, and
pretty much
went to the one that we all of us adults know and have dealt with in our lives. So I'm going to be doing a lot of reading off of the paper, and
basically the way that we do it is every single week we have our outline of what we're going to cover, that particular week. And usually what we do is I make my notes, Bruce makes his notes. We don't look at each other's notes. We want general surprise reactions. We want everything to feel natural, and that's why we don't copy over each other's homework.
Yeah, that's why in some of the previous lists that we've done, we've had the same thing. Some of our favorites lists, like, oh, well, you're number 2, 4, and 5, or my number 1, 2, and 3, or what have you.
Exactly. We're just reading off of our notes, but this week is going to be a little bit different. We have our outline. It's pretty short, but I feel like if we really were to dive deep into it, we would have like a 5-hour episode. We're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Since we've started, every single week has gotten longer and longer and longer. And honestly, I feel it's because you and I are getting more comfortable doing this.
Yeah, we're kind of settling in.
We're finding our groove, as it were, and yeah.
Well, this week we're going to jump out of that groove now.
Yeah. No more groove. So let's start the ball rolling here with topic 1. Scary life choices that shape our lives.
Yeah, and I mean that can obviously range across a bunch of different things. In my life, I haven't actually had a lot of career changes personally. Just a couple, honestly. I've been at the same job for 12 years now, and happily, very, very happy in what I do for life. So some of those things don't come up, but there are different things. And you have in the notes there. I'm actually going to just kind of jump to the next section and go over this large purchases. So we both have houses, and those are expensive.
Houses aren't cheap by any means.
Yeah. Luckily, we live in a more rural area where they're fairly reasonable. And anybody in a large, metro area might laugh at some of the money that we have in our houses. We're not going to give you our life information and our social securities and all that stuff. But
good luck stealing anything. And wow, $12.
Yeah, but still, I mean, to go and to sign up for a 30-year loan is a daunting thing.
It's intimidating.
Yeah, I feel like you kind of have to. I mean, obviously you have to live somewhere, so you don't have to buy. There's obviously the option of renting, and there are pros and cons in both directions. If you feel like you're pretty stationary in life, you don't see yourself moving around, or you're very happy with where you are, buying's definitely an option. If you're out and around a lot, buying a house might be a bit of a pain if every 2 years you're moving to a new area. If you're in an industry where you're getting relocated a good bit, but I know, and I have colleagues that have done that. Some of the businesses that I've worked with, I've grown to make friendships with some of these contacts, and I know one gentleman that started out in the middle of the country, ended up in the southeast. Now he's in the northwest, and I'm pretty sure he buys the house every time he does it. So
I wonder what that would do to your credit score.
I mean, as long as you're making your payments, it should be phenomenal.
As long as you can, hit the turnaround.
Yeah. My big thing, and I don't know because I'm in the first house I ever bought. I don't know financially, how do you obtain a new house while still owning a house? I mean,
no, that's what we're actually diving into. Is we have our land plotted out for our new house,
right?
And that's going to be intimidating.
Yeah, because you're currently, I mean, typically, and I feel like there's plenty of people out there that can swing that kind of stuff. But for the majority of the people that I know and in my life, one house payment is what they can afford, if that. So the idea of having one in the works and one still on the books is a little interesting. It's a little daunting.
Yeah, I it's something that, it does keep me up at night. It's like, how am I going to afford, having an electrician come out and wire up this house while I'm still trying to, make sure that I can put, food on the table.
Yeah.
In another house.
Right. Yeah.
It's things along that kind of line. Going off of large purchases, birth of a child. That's another big one. We both have kids. They're actually 2 weeks apart.
yeah. Not planned. That's just
it wasn't planned at all. It's not like one of those. What is it where like all the girls get pregnant all at once?
Yeah, I don't know, a cult. It's a little odd to me. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's not that big of a deal, but
you have baby number 2 like on the way.
Right.
Yeah. We're going to be doing baby number 2. Sometime this fall going into winter.
Right. So the very room, and for the people that are watching the live stream, because we're doing that this week, the very room we're in will not be where we're going to be recording this here on out. We're going to have to do some remodeling here at the old homestead and relocate the my little studio. It's going to have to go downstairs in the old basement dungeon, but
I think that'll be fun though.
It'll be all right. We'll have our own entrance. It'll feel more like a secluded studio. I don't know. It'll be fine.
But we can also do some kind of sound insulation or something like
that.
Right,
yeah. So there's options on that. But yeah, having kids, that's a big deal. That's a forever type thing. And because obviously, I mean, I know in my particular position, it wasn't like as soon as I turned 18, I was no longer in need of any assistance from my parents. I to this day still. My dad helps me out with things, my grandmother and things like that. So having kids, it's not an 18 and out type situation unless you're like a deadbeat person and a terrible person.
That's not us. We're not those kind of people.
We're not bad people. It's that's what you do for family. To this day, I help relatives. Relatives help me. It's what you do when you get that little family network. If you're lucky enough to have that, some folks have crappy families, and so hats off to them for the folks out there that have to make it on their own. But
because not for everybody, it's sometimes a pregnancy is not a choice for those people. It was definitely not a planned thing. And it can definitely put strains on those type of relationships. And I don't ever want my daughter or future kid to feel like that,
right?
Like I want them to know that I'm always going to be there for them, and I'm there for their entire life. It's a lifelong commitment,
right?
Is what it is, Yeah,
and I think to clarify from our perspective, because this topic can really vary depending upon where you're coming from, financially, socioeconomically, and things like that. We're what you would consider middle class, maybe towards the bottom of middle class, but we are
lower middle class by far.
We're very fortunate, in my opinion. I try not to take things for granted. The fact that I am able to have a job. There are folks out there that can't, either for disability type reasons or just the area they're in. I mean, look at how Detroit is just a bunch of empty buildings. They're really rough up there. So.
Hey, we could buy a house up there.
Yeah, for not much.
Got a couple $100 on you.
Yeah, so we're very. I feel like we're very. I guess blessed is a good word for it. We're lucky. When you really look at the scope of the world, we're probably, even though we're paycheck to paycheck, being a middle class American is top percentage. We're probably in the top 5% of the world. So I don't want to come across as boisterous or bragging in any means. It's not about that at all, but I just want to kind of lay it out there and explain to people where we're coming from, and our views, and especially in this episode, might might not be appropriate to the next person, but this is the whole thing's about us. Every episode has been about us, so this one's about us too.
Yeah. It's just, we might be, paycheck to paycheck kind of thing, but I mean, at the same time, we're one terrible life choice away from, rock bottom.
Yeah, I mean, look at the other week you hit the pothole from heck, and yeah, that was rough. You ended up having to purchase a wheel, a tire. Thank goodness for friends, me.
This guy right here.
You were able to limp the vehicle to work. Your coworkers were super awesome and helped you out getting, because it's not like people drive around with a jack and everything necessary to pop off both front tires.
Yeah, but a heated garage.
Yeah, so you got lucky. You got lucky, and you were able to get that, and we got it switched out, but that was still hundreds of dollars, and that is make it or break it for a lot of folks out there.
Absolutely. I mean, it's something that you're not anticipating, but stuff like that can it can happen any point in time.
Right. Yeah. So those are the things that can absolutely affect your not just your week, your month, your year. It can make a huge difference. So back to what we were talking about, because we got off on a weird tangent.
A little bit.
Birth of a child is a huge factor that luckily we were both financially capable of accommodating and looking forward to.
It's not necessarily just financially, but you have to be emotionally capable.
Oh yeah.
Like I know, there have been so many, people that have gotten, children at a very young age. It's just, you got to be ready for that kind of thing. A lot of people don't realize, like, hey, you're going to have a person that's going to be relying on absolutely everything.
Yeah. And
for at least the next 10 years.
Yeah. Obviously, anybody with kids that are listening to this are looking at duh. But for those of you without, it's when you're a teenager and you're emphasized to make the correct decisions, it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal, and it's unfortunate that it's always hindsight for that generation, for those kids that are promiscuous at best and out there doing their thing and exploring life in general. To take for granted the advice given down by those square adults above you, you don't realize until you're one of those square adults telling some other kid that's not listening, this is a big deal. So, big deal. Yeah, I absolutely agree with your list here. Large purchases and creating and maintaining families is, it is a life.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, you don't, and I'm sure there are folks out there that do, but for the better part, you don't continue with that bachelorette lifestyle in any way. And I would hope that most parents, and it's typical general consensus is that it's a preferred change. There are some of those people out there that their children are a burden to them, and it's so sad. I feel bad for the kids that that feel that they're in that position.
I don't want any kid to feel like they're a burden on anybody.
Yeah, like if it weren't for you, I'd still have my old Camaro.
If you're one of those kind of parents, shame on you.
Yeah,
absolutely, shame on you.
Yeah, so
I have no remorse for your predicament.
Yeah,
give me the kid. I'll give the kid a good life.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a big thing, and obviously there are going to be some ups and downs with kids. The stress levels are intense. Monumentous. Yeah, it is insane, and obviously not intentional by any way from the child. They're just I'm hungry.
Yeah, pretty much. Like my daughter was absolutely distraught this past week. Because you had your kid's birthday party last Sunday.
Yeah.
So about a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we brought home some cupcakes. Okay. And set the cupcakes down on the coffee table, not thinking, and the dog grabbed them.
Oh.
So there goes the cupcakes.
Yeah, gone.
My daughter has been mad all week long. Those bad dogs took my cupcakes. They're gone. They're bad dogs.
Yeah, that is...
It was to the point where I think it was Thursday. And I had to take her to the grocery store and just, grab some cupcakes on the way home. Because I don't have time to bake. I'm a terrible baker. I think we mentioned that in a previous episode. I don't bake.
Yeah, we didn't bake those, by the way. My sister-in-law hooked us up with those.
Right on.
Yeah.
I imagine they were delicious.
Yeah.
I don't know. No one tried.
They rarely were. You should have tried one.
But, it's just, my kid being distraught over cupcakes for a week, and there's nothing you can do about that. You just kind of have to go with the flow.
Right.
And just try and console her in any way, shape, or form. Try to get her mind off.
And try not to laugh while you do it.
She was bad dogs.
Yeah.
My a 2-year-old kid saying bad dogs. It's the cutest thing.
You're right, yeah.
Let's move on a little bit here. Next up on the little format we got here is the fear of not being able to provide when you are considered to be the provider.
Yeah.
That's another biggie. A lot of people, looking at the head of the household, you might not like your job, you might not like what you do, but at the end of the day, what are you doing that paycheck for? You're not doing it, necessarily to buy a case of beer. You're putting food on the table. You're keeping a roof over someone's head. You're keeping the lights on. Maybe a small trinket or two for the kiddo every week just to keep him happy. The thought of even just losing a job and not being able to provide, for that, it gives a lot of people anxiety. Because it's scary as hell. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah. I 100% am there with you. I'm one bad accident away, and actually I ran into that issue to an extent years ago when I began at the business I'm at. I was a technician and working on vehicles, and one day hanging out with some friends at the local park, playing basketball, tore my ACL.
You don't need those, do you?
Yeah, well, you kind of do.
Oh.
I mean, technically you don't, but you don't want to do something like that. So that was a very painful moment for me, obviously. And my immediate thought, and at the time I was 20. So like I hadn't, no concerns of family. I didn't really have bills, like car payment, and that's the extent of it. So I mean that's like when you're doing the best in life financially is whenever you're living under your folks' roof and things like that. And I still was like, oh crap, I'm screwed. I went into work. Of course I called them and told them I wouldn't be in, but then I went in because it was on the weekend. I went in the very next day that I could. And on crutches, with and everything. And, at that point I was just going in because I hadn't been there for that long. I only been working there for about 7-8 months, I think. And it was my intention to just thank them for the time I could be there and hope that I could find some job. And I lucked out that my boss at the time made a position for me in sales at the business that wasn't necessary. He literally just like kept me on board anyways, and I've been in that field ever since. It really changed and shaped my life, and now looking back, I'm kind of glad I wasn't a technician. Not anything against that. It's just it's not for me. I got a bad back, or I can't bend over and work on engines like I used to be able to. So
I can't do anything because I'm fat.
Well, yeah, that doesn't help.
I get winded to go up a flight of stairs.
Yeah,
but that's another story.
So yeah, that was a scary experience for me in a time where it wasn't nearly as scary as it would be now. To up and lose. It's one thing to lose a job, maybe your company's downsizing and whatnot. That's terrifying. But to be in a situation where, like, I physically was not able to do the thing that I was doing, like that was my profession. That's what I did at the time. So that was a terrifying moment for me, and I've been just very fortunate that ever since then, I've been at the same business in sales and have been able to do that. But yeah, that's a moment that makes you wonder. It makes you think, and you go through all these what if situations.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just so many things that can go wrong that you don't want to think about, but you have to constantly think about.
Right.
Anything can happen. That's pretty much the moral of the story. It's nothing like signing up for life insurance in your 20s.
Right.
You want to make sure people are going to be taken care of. Even if you're not going to be able to.
I just burped. Sorry. Hope nobody can hear that, but now they know.
But going off of that, the fear of change, I feel like people get, pretty complacent in their lives.
Yeah.
And they just kind of do the same routine day in, day out, day in, day out. And if anything changes, even, slightly, it throws everything off. Like myself, I'm a creature of habit.
Right.
I have the same routine.
That's the perfect term.
Yeah, I have the same routine every single morning. I have to do things a certain way. And if that gets disrupted, even if I don't have, even if I have like extra time that I can spare, and it's not going to affect anything, it's still going to be, clawing at the back of my mind. Change is scary, And I think that it really, affects a lot of people. What do you think?
Oh yeah, it's that whole creature of habit concept is in my opinion very accurate for most of the folks that I know. I mean, I know some folks that are just headstrong. What's next? Doesn't matter. Doing it, but typically
always up for an adventure. That kind of deal.
Right, but yeah, typically, I mean the things around you in your life that are super important typically don't allow for that type of freedom, between bills and I never want to use the term tied down, but these are moments that need your attention, and regularly you have regular bills, you have monthly bills and things of that nature. And so, for those stories you read about where it's like, oh, this couple, they quit their job and they bought a van and they toured the country. Good for them, but I cannot, from my position financially, see how in the world that's possible.
I would be sick to my stomach just even thinking about doing that.
Yeah.
Like uprooting my entire world and changing it, even if it would turn out for the better. It doesn't matter. That's not what's going on in my brain. My brain is freaking out, thinking, okay, what happens to my credit score whenever whenever my house goes into default? What am I going to do to take care of my pets? How am I going to teach my kid?
Right. Yeah.
Like, I'm not a very good teacher. I'll teach her the important things in life, like here's how to sharpen a knife, here's how to hold a grudge. But it's just the thought of that it makes me personally, it makes me cringe.
It's like an anxiety just at the concept of it.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many different forms of anxiety and so many different forms of fear, essentially.
Yeah.
And just thinking about it just makes my skin crawl.
Yeah, and it's probably a good thing, that you have that. Fear is
it keeps you straight.
Oh yeah, it's there for a reason.
It keeps you focused. It keeps you on track. It's
that evolutionary tool that kept your ancestor from jumping off the cliff. And that's the reason you're here.
Fight or flight.
Yeah, so and not only that, like, and this is going to make me sound like a terrible person, but a completely different aspect of that whole sell your junk, hop in a van, tour the country or wherever. I'm far too materialistic for that.
Same.
I have stuff, and I like my stuff.
Like what would you do with all the guitars that are sitting behind?
Right? Yeah. It's the thing, and
you don't see it on camera, but there's another wall of guitars over here.
So we have our trinkets. What do you do with your stuffed unicorn collection? I could not live in a van down by the river. I had to say that. I couldn't do that. Even if it were an RV, a coach, I don't really care. It could be the size of a Greyhound bus. I like my stuff.
I would have anxiety of driving a bus that size. Am I going to hit something? Oh my God, how am I going to afford to put gas in this thing?
Oh yeah, yeah. Those are large RVs. It's gallons per mile.
Well, here's what I don't understand. Like, do you need, like, there's humongous motor coaches. You don't need a CDL to drive those, do you?
No. You, I'm pretty sure you have to be an elderly person with terrible eyesight. Like, that's the only real priority on that. Everything else is just good. Like, they have like air brakes and everything, and no commercial drivers.
That is
certification whatsoever.
To me.
It really is.
Like you have these people I wouldn't trust with a butter knife.
Yeah.
Operating like a 20,000 pound vehicle,
right,
blindly.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, and there, I've personally maneuvered a few of these vehicles just in the business I'm with. We do the attachments for RVs where you can haul your vehicle behind it, and just maneuvering them within the aspect of my own parking lot is daunting. But we've done test runs on vehicles where we've had to drive around with one time I was in a coach with a full-size pickup truck pulled behind it to do a test run on it. And that's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm driving and I'm like, oh, what am I feel like I'm going to take out mailboxes or parallel parked cars. I'm just going to rip off their mirrors. So for those people that drive those things, I not to get too political in that direction, but I really feel like there should be some type of program mandated that they have to pass in regards to a driver's license to make sure that these people are doing it safely.
Yeah, shouldn't there be like a motor vehicle motorhome?
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a motorcycle license, and why shouldn't?
And that's to operate 2 less wheels.
If things go sour in that situation, you're the one that's going to pay the most penalty on that. So
exactly.
If you're operating a Winnebago at 80 miles per hour and you're dozing off or something like that,
you're taking out way more than you expected.
That's intense.
That's a tank flying down a mountain.
Yeah, it's a house. It's a literal house on wheels.
A domicile.
So.
But I mean, just the thought of even me driving. I mentioned it before. I have a Kia Soul. It's big.
Yeah.
And I be just driving through traffic normally. I despise it because you're always getting behind somebody that It's called the passing lane. Yeah, I understand that, I shouldn't be, constantly driving in the passing lane, but I'm trying to pass the person that's in front of me that won't move out of the passing lane. So, I'm getting off on a tangent here.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's another type of anxiety right there, though. I mean, that's definitely part of it.
It applies to many different aspects of life. Essentially, that's what I'm getting at. Moving on, I have next up as the fear of failure.
It's that. I know, without naming names, I definitely know people that is one of the absolute biggest things that dictate their lifestyles. And it's really unfortunate. You always hear those anecdotes, you lose, or was it you miss every shot you don't make or you don't attempt to make, and things like that. But that is major. I think, especially in the nook of the world that we're in, society puts a lot of pressure on that as well. And I think it's unfortunate because who has ever really done anything without failing? I mean, name one. You couldn't just tie your shoes one day when you were a little kid. You had to do the loop and swoop until you got it figured out. So I think it's unfortunate the pressures that are put on everyone, ourselves. We do it to ourselves to just put this veil of badness across the idea of failure. I don't think that's fair for literally any person to have that mindset, but so many people do, and we do it to each other.
Yeah, not just to each other, we do it to ourselves.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm my biggest critic.
Yeah.
If something's not up to my specifications, something's not up to, my expectations, I will do everything I can to get that fixed. It's because it has to, pass my test,
right?
Essentially, there's so many things that you can fail at. It can be anything from learning a new craft to trying out something new and different. But there's certain things in my life that I know that I cannot fail. I have to have a paycheck coming in. I have to be able to take care of my little one. I have to be dad. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, you have your role.
Yeah, and you can't fail. There's no matter what you do. I don't know how you necessarily would fail. You can easily disappoint someone. You can easily, go down the wrong path.
Yeah, and it's funny how sometimes the biggest failures to you is pretty forgivable if you have the right people in your life. It's very important to...
Well, it all comes down to what kind of mindset you have behind yourself. Mm-hmm. What are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to do? It weighs on a lot of people. It's very taxing, severely. It drives people insane on a daily basis.
Yeah. Well, I think a good advice that I've gotten in my life is you have to kind of look at failure as the end step. It's kind of up to you. If you fail and you stop, you're the reason that failure is the end result. Otherwise, it's just a step. It's a stepping stone. It's now I know how not to do that, and that's what I personally try to kind of keep in mind in my life. Every time I mess something up. And it happens. We all mess up all the time. Nobody's perfect.
No, absolutely.
Every time I mess up, I try to do my very best to just go, well, now I've learned how to not do the thing, whatever it is. It's helped me kind of manage that anxiety and that fear in that failure department, is to know that it's perfectly natural.
No, absolutely. Like what. In my life particularly, I've been using Bob Ross as the quote of inspiration for it.
Yeah.
There are no mistakes. There's only happy accidents, which I think that's how I became,
You're looking at one.
But if you look at it as more or less like there is, no mistakes, there's only learning experiences. If you don't learn from your mistakes, then, well, let's face it, you're failing.
Yeah, that's really it. It's the people that focus on the mistake as that end result, as that thing. Like, I made a mistake. Well, yes, but what did you learn from it? I mean,
exactly.
It's all for naught if you don't take anything from it. If you just say, well, I failed, I can't do that, and you completely jump out of the scenario, the project, whatever it is. It's unfortunate because now you've had the opportunity to learn something that you'll never apply because you haven't continued on. So more power to the people out there that can keep that positive mindset. But for those of the rest of us, myself included, that can be very hard on yourself during those scenarios, I think it's important for us to remember that failure is life.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think that would be pretty much the best name for an autobiography ever, right there.
Failure is my life. Failure is life, especially mine.
You just got to be like Joe Dirt, man. You got to keep on keeping on.
Yeah,
life's a garden, dig it.
It's funny. I mean, obviously, it's a silly movie from a while ago now. It's getting kind of old, but that's a really good mindset to have. I mean, I love the movie, but it's a dumb movie. Yeah. But to be able to have that mindset is a good thing. I don't think enough people think that way.
Yeah, same. I know that I don't think that way for most of the time. It's just built into my brain. I can't help it. But anytime that I do remember something along that kind of line, I don't know, what would be the word for it? Uplifting.
Yeah.
Inspirational.
Yeah. It really is, and it's. I am genuinely curious. Any of my anybody listening to this or watching this, if you know or could give us some links to some good scientific literature on this, I'm very curious as to where that comes from. Is that internal? Is it societal? Is it is it ingrained? I wonder. Why are we all broken in that same manner? Or most of us, there's a lot of people out there like
the majority.
Heck with it, but
the majority.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'd like to see some research on that.
Right, I would too. I think that'd be pretty cool to see, why people are the way they are.
Why are we so hard on ourselves?
But I guess you can get into a humongous theological discussion over something along that kind of line.
Yeah, yeah.
Moving on. How do you keep your chin held up high when you feel like you are sinking?
So we're right back to Joe Dirt. Actually, I think we just kind of transitioned right into that anyways. But
it goes hand in hand with each other.
I think, and this is I think this would be a good opportunity for both of us to answer this personally.
Right.
From my standpoint, when things get crappy, when you have a down day or what have you, or an event that's bad, for me, it helps to focus on those that need me. It's I don't know if that's a good way for everybody to do it. I don't know if that would work for everyone, to think like, well, that sucks, but this person over here also needs me. But that's what works for me, is to kind of focus on I can't fall apart because I'm holding others up too, not just myself. And
I like that.
That's what gets me through when things get crummy. And I've had some pretty bad lows in my life where it took me a while to get to that point. I can't say that I'm like, oh, well, shucks, but I got to move on, instantaneous. I personally have had to work towards that with a few different disastrous moments in my life, but I think that helps me to focus on I can't lock myself in a room and get in the fetal position and stay away from the sun. And not stop bathing and all that stuff. I have to continue even in my work. I can't just stop going to work. And like we spoke about earlier, a lot of people they're paycheck to paycheck, or in my case, paycheck to about one day before paycheck.
Sad but true.
Yeah, I can't let disaster get to me for too long, or it's just going to compound. There's just going to be other issues. I've never considered this about myself until just now, but that's kind of, I don't know if that's a good way to go about life, but that's what works for me.
Yeah. For me, I concentrate on the things that make me happy in my life. And
Okay.
It really just comes down to family.
Yeah.
I could have one of the worst, most miserable days ever, but I come home, I see the little one, smiles on my face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not just that, I'm a huge music buff. Love music to death. I listen to it all day long. There's not really a point in time that I don't have it, at least somewhere in the room, wherever I'm at during the day. And I feel like my music is more or less a reflection of how I'm feeling at that moment.
Oh.
If I'm angry, I'm going to be blasting some Norwegian death metal. If I'm, on the sadder side of things, I'm going to be playing something that's a lot more mellow.
You got your Norah Jones. Is that it?
Not quite.
Sarah McLachlan.
In the arms of the angel. But it really, comes down to, I'm in a good mood. Maybe I'll put on, like we were just listening to Daft Punk.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll listen to some Glitch Mob. Who knows?
Right.
It just depends on, how I'm feeling that day.
That's really interesting because that does not work for me.
Really?
Yeah, not at all. If I'm angry, I can't. Well, it's metal music. Unlike most people, and I've met people that are in this category big time. It does not increase any rage. It does not really affect my anger. It typically calms me.
Well, not necessarily that it is to make me angrier.
Yeah.
But it's something that I enjoy to calm me down from being.
Okay.
angry.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at. Yeah. Like if I'm having a rough day and I'm hearing some blast beats, I don't know. It just I get a smile on my face and I'm just like, you know what? It releases the anger for me.
Right.
It's the punching bag. It's like an audible punching bag that I don't have to. I just have to listen, and it pulls that aggression out of me, or that anger or sadness.
You can listen to some uprising music along the lines of Hatebreed. I used to call them heavy metal guidance counselors.
There you go.
You can believe in yourself.
Yeah, no, I can't handle.
Or maybe some of them on Marth and just get into our Vikingness. But
yeah, and same way with me with with sad songs. If I'm sad, I don't like sad songs. I guess it really comes down to it. I think no matter what my whatever emotion I'm feeling, if it's not happiness, usually metal is the answer, regardless of which direction. It kind of pulls me back. But I love non-metal music a lot. We're going to do an episode on that one of these days, is the non-metal stuff. But
I'm not very knowledgeable on that one.
Well, that's all right. I'll carry that. We did a car thing, and you're not really a car guy, so.
I like cars. I drive cars.
Yeah. So.
I came here in a car.
There you go. Yeah. But yeah, music definitely does it for me. It helps me pull me, kind of center me, I guess.
Right. Well, I don't know how I necessarily got these notes for the next part here.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Whatever.
I have how does depression tie into this? Does it go hand in hand, and does it amplify anxiety?
Depression's tough.
Well,
for me,
there's so many different levels,
right? Yeah, it is.
There's not. This is depression. This is not depression.
Yeah, there's no black and white to it.
Yeah, it's one full spectrum of gray. And everyone's different. Everyone has their own things.
Right.
Things are bothering different people at certain times.
Oh yeah.
How about you?
It's hard. It's hard for me to talk about depression. It really is. It's very difficult for me to talk about that. I've never been diagnosed. I don't go to doctors or anything like that. I can definitely say that there was a state of my life after my mother passed away where, looking back, I feel like the term depression was pretty appropriate. And you never get over that ever.
Oh, God,
but
no.
it's hard for me to talk about it because I'm sure this is how some people do. I didn't deal with it. I didn't deal with it at all. I just did. Honest to goodness, when my mom passed away, I went to work the next day. And my boss is like looking at me like, "Why are you here?" And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I need that sense of normalcy in my life.
Right.
And he made me go home, obviously, and it's good. I'm glad he did. I should not have been at work. I was in no position to be, in that area.
Well, honestly, like, in my opinion, it all comes down to the type of person that you are.
Oh yeah.
Like, you pretty much know how I'm feeling. I wear my feelings on my sleeve.
Yeah.
But I think you would be the greatest championship poker player because you can never tell what you're thinking
unless I'm playing poker. Because like I have a cousin that knows he'll fold as soon as I get my cards. I'm like, dang it. So I'm a terrible poker player. But yeah, otherwise, I am not very emotional. I mentioned that before, but I've had people tell me I'm robotic in a sense of just...
Yeah, and I feel like that would make life a lot more difficult to deal with something along that kind of line, because if you're not talking about it, no one's knowing about it.
I don't do well with understanding a lot of emotions, and it is definitely a problem in my life, especially with my loved ones. I've been told, because I was pretty young whenever my dad's dad passed away, but from what other family members have told me, he was even more so than me, out of touch with emotion, and I struggle with remembering sometimes that other people have far greater range of emotion or experience it differently than me. I don't know what that means about me. Obviously, anybody can be diagnosed with anything, but I do have a tough time. Without getting too deep into my personal life, it's hard for me sometimes to remember that other people want to know that I care.
Right.
It doesn't, like if I make it, I will never come out rightly and say, "You're my friend." I hate terminology like that. I don't use the term best friend, or I very rarely use the term friend other than just explaining to somebody, "Oh, this person over here is an associate of mine."
Well, you don't have to say best friend. I'm right here.
Yeah, well, that's my big thing and I don't show that. And I've dealt with a lot of my friends. For a fact that I'm really bad at giving. I don't tell people when they do a good job. I guess
you have no compliments at all for anybody. No.
Nothing at all, and it's
flat.
Yeah, and I get a lot of people that think that I'm a jerk because I won't. Like in where I work, I'm in a managerial moment, and I'm a manager. I guess I could just say it. I'm a manager at work, and I have people underneath of me, and I didn't click very well with one of our technicians for a little while until we both realized that we're both kind of the same person, and that neither of us did that. And like once we kind of realized that we both come across as jerks, but we're not, it worked out so much better. But yeah, I don't compliment. I don't. I tell people if they do good or bad. It's interesting. I can't say that I personally know anybody else that handles emotions like I do, so it's kind of difficult for me to deal with them.
Right.
But it's nice to be able to see people like you that express emotions in what I would consider a normal way, but it's almost foreign.
I feel like I express my emotions a lot more vividly. Would that be the word I'm looking for?
Well, yeah, you're outspoken, and there's never does anybody wonder how you feel.
Yeah, exactly. Which is funny. let me back up a little bit here. At my previous job, they had what was called a DISC profile. You guys can look it up. It's basically a personality profile. It's pretty popular if you haven't heard of it.
I have not. I think you may have told me about it once, but I'm not familiar, really.
Like D is someone that's a direct person. I is I cannot remember. I don't have my phone to look it up because it's being used as a camera.
Yeah.
There can be ranges. Like you can be part one letter, part another, part this one, part that
so
one.
it kind of like locks in and gives
exactly. Like with me, I was pure I. Like if you look at it here from your point of view, here's the D, here's I, and the rest of them. Like it doesn't really matter what the other ones were. It shows you the kind of personality that I have.
Okay.
But it's kind of funny because if you look at it, I'm supposed to be like a highly energetic, which I am, outgoing person.
Mm-hmm.
I hate people. Oh my God, I despise people. I think people are the worst creatures on the planet.
Huh.
Like I
you're a people, right?
I am a person, and if my time is going to be over because of my remarks, then I fully support it because I feel like the world would be a better place without me in it.
Wow.
Yeah, I really don't like people, but I can BS like you have no idea.
Yeah.
I might be a psychopath.
That might be for another episode, but
just saying.
Well, I mean, on that extent, I too, I am, I guess, more introvert than extrovert. I do well with people, but it's like the better I know a person, the more standoffish I am because I'm in the retail world. I deal with customers all day long, and I absolutely have the retail customer face. I have that persona that I employ to interact with my customers and my coworkers. Like I have to kind of put that face on, and my coworkers now at this point, they've kind of all gotten used to me, and I don't have to use that on them, but. Yeah, I mean, I definitely have my how are you face, and it's really, I don't know how much other people are like this, but for me, it's really easy for me to flip that switch. I have no concern or no issue about shelving emotions and personal considerations and just being, now this is working, Bruce.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. That's it's weird. I'm weird.
Well, we're all weird in our own aspects.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with being weird. Weird isn't.
Absolutely.
It should not be, a bad remark. It's not an insult to me. It's just
no. Like I would take it as a point of pride as being strange, being different.
Yeah, who wants to be like everybody else?
You are all sheep.
Nobody wants that. It's good to be unique.
Yeah, but that pretty much wraps up what we have in the way of our list of stuff that we prepared for. Well, I didn't really prepare.
No, we winged the crap out of this.
Yeah, we did. But going off of this, we touched on a lot of pretty big subjects. Anxiety, depression, and a lot of people are they're hiding that. There's a lot of cases where you don't know if your friends are going through tough times. So like check in on people.
Yeah, reach out.
Reach out to them. If I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out there, like if there's anyone that's listening to this, anyone that's watching this, and you're feeling that way and you want someone to talk to,
hit us up.
We'll listen, till the cows come home. We'll do everything that we can. No questions asked. It's just, I think that's just common courtesy.
Yeah. I mean, even though we just got done with your "I hate people" rant, it doesn't apply in this sense.
I hate people as a collective. Does that make sense?
A person is fine. People,
Well, there's a handful of people that I like. Big fan of Andrea. Big.
It's good. I'm glad because you married her.
Yeah, big fan of my kid. I like you. My parents are okay. There's like one or two people from work that I'm all right with.
By the way, your parents would move heaven and earth for you. So
they pretty much did. They're the ones that helped me out with the getting the wheel to you.
Oh,
so we can get it put on the car.
Absolutely. Yeah, it took time out of their day. So
yeah, absolutely. Like
But all jokes aside,
yeah, all jokes aside, if you're feeling like you can't keep it on, if you feel like you're sinking and you need someone to talk to, reach out to either one of us. We'll sit and we'll talk forever. It doesn't matter where you're at in the world. Send us a message on our Facebook page, and guess what? We'll give you a phone number. You can call us, and we'll talk.
Yeah. Well, and I think the important message here is it doesn't have to be us. I think it's very important for people to realize, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying a little bit earlier in this, about how we put all this strain on ourselves, and we have all these expectations, and we just so hard on ourselves. You have to understand that we're kind of all in this together. Like we're all here, and
we're all blind. We're all just fumbling through the dark, just trying to make our way through this crazy thing called life.
Yeah, and seeking help is oftentimes, for some odd reason, considered bad, and it makes.
Oh, it makes
a lot of
me
people,
mad.
yeah, well, a lot of people see it as a sign of weakness, and I am 100% guilty of this. I will tell somebody, "Hey, let me know if you need anything," but I won't.
You get frustrated whenever they actually ask you.
Well, no, it's not that. It's I won't reach out. I personally won't take the time myself to say, "Hey, I'm having a hard time." I will not do it, and it's something that I think we all need to work on and make sure that we're all doing okay. Check on each other, but most importantly, check on yourself. If you're having a rough time in life,
talk to somebody.
First off, that's normal.
Yeah.
That's not. You should not be embarrassed.
There's no such thing as a rough time in life. It's just called
life.
You're
just going through life, man. And I think it's important for all of us to keep that in mind. I'm not trying to get preachy here or anything, but reach out, and if you're going through something, there's somebody out there that has done it. We've all had our tragedies. I mean, I've got a very colorful list of things that have happened in my life that has absolutely sucked. But it's always good to kind of be talking with somebody, especially if anybody that's been through it. Of course, you don't want to go to somebody that maybe has no empathy for the scenario.
Right. But you would be surprised how many good people there are out there that volunteer their time to listen and try and sort problems out like this. There are multiple hotlines that you can call. Everything's confidential. Everything's toll free. Whenever this actually posts to the regular podcast, I'm going to include links in the description of it. I'm going to include phone numbers, so on and so forth. And after we get done recording this, I'll also post them on our Facebook page. I know a lot of people know that they're out there. I know a lot of people won't bother to call, but help is literally a phone call away if you ever need anything.
Yeah, I think that's really important. So today's episode, it was a bit messy. We got through it. Didn't really know how we were going to address this. I mean, the idea was, of course, anxiety, sadness, depression, and things of that nature.
Pretty much, yeah.
But I think it really all boils down to how you, the listener, feel, and if it's overall a thumbs down, do something about it. And I hope it's not too bold for me to be that blunt with folks. But it's important, we actually live in a really good time where life expectancies are pretty high. We got a good, medical field around us.
Well, I don't know. There's a lot of anti-vaxxers out there.
Well, I mean, other than those kids.
Sorry. That was a terrible joke.
That was a terrible joke.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Vaccinate your kids, though.
Yeah, do it.
But, we live in a time where you could live. I mean, 70, 80 is not really old. Like
it's considered the norm.
Yeah, so when you're in that situation, I don't care if you're 50, if you're feeling crummy. You've got a future ahead of you. You're 80 and you're feeling crummy. You got a future ahead of you. So yeah, I guess that's the message here, is that we all have anxiety. We all have our depressive moments, and I'm sure can be diagnosed with depression. There's nothing wrong with that diagnosis.
The only thing that's wrong is you not trying to get help.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, you break your leg, you go to the doctor, you get a cast. If you're having emotional issues, that's a physical problem. That's no different, in my opinion. Those are the same thing. So
I think emotional problems problems can be even worse than physical problems.
Oh yeah, because you don't see them.
Yeah.
There's no blood. There's no evidence, and then
And
you get
everyone's different,
Yeah.
You break your leg, you break your leg. There's only so many different ways. Not causes. There's only so many different ways that you can break your leg, But there's billions upon trillions of different things that are going through people's heads.
Yeah. So I think that was the idea behind this, is to let you know that we're human. I mean, we make fart jokes and we talk about cars and guitars, but at the end of the day, we go through our stuff as well. And I think that final message is we're all in it together, and it's going to get better. If it isn't good for you, it's going to get better. If it is good for you, make sure that you're there for those that need you.
Exactly, and keep making yourself happy. But speaking of guitars, tune in next week where we will be talking about our 6-string, 7-string, 8-string friends. Mostly 6-string.
Oh, that's right. I completely forgot what next week's episode was about.
we do have
surprised.
an outline. We do have a list of what all the upcoming episodes are going to be for season 1, which we need to talk about that off camera and microphone. There's a good amount of stuff for us to go over. Don't worry, we're planning. It's good stuff, Yeah. We're gonna keep on keeping on. So, do you have any closing words, closing statements?
Nah, man, that's it. I think this was a successful, in-depth look at us. And now I got to go and not show emotion for a few days to get over this, because I feel vulnerable now.
I'm so vulnerable.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that wraps it up. Get on to our website, stuffamongothethings.com.
Oh, yeah.
You can hit up all of the different ways that you can listen to our podcast. There's billions of them, iTunes or Spotify. It doesn't matter. We're on them all. There's also links to our Facebook page for people that aren't watching the video here. There was links to our Instagram. There's ways to get a hold of us if you need to get a hold of us. Or you can send us an email. Ask us stuff at stuffamongothethings.com. Comes right to us. So that was a new one that I forgot to mention last week.
Yeah, I didn't know about that one.
Yeah. So
right.
Does it for us. Peace.
Later, guys.
This has been the Stuff Among Other Things weekly podcast. For a complete list of episodes, visit us on the web at stuffamongothethings.com.